Hello my friends, William Poloniak here again from Whole Health Foundation. Today I'm going to be making cantaloupe juice, but I'm going to add turmeric and ginger. And the first step is to cut it into manageable sections. Let's take a look at that. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is cut it into sections that will fit into the feed tube, and then I'm going to cut off the skin. My next step with a paring knife is to cut off the skin, and especially with cantaloupe, you never know how clean that skin is. So I'm going to go inside and cut as close to the skin as possible. Cut off the skin and set this aside. And remember, I want to get as close to the skin as possible because I want to preserve that inner green part that has a lot of nutrient. Now as you can see, I've cut the cantaloupe into manageable sections, and I've cut as close to the skin as possible to get as much of the nutrient as I can. And as I said, today I'm going to put in some ginger and turmeric. Now the first thing I'm going to do is use the front-loading feed tube and the near zero cutter, which I'll install now. And the nice thing about the near zero blowback cutter is it shreds produce 40 degrees Fahrenheit cooler. And the front loading feed tube minimizes and almost eliminates blowback 100%. However, with fruit, you need to be very careful feeding it into the feed tube, as I'll demonstrate. But the first thing I'm going to do is feed in 2 or 3 ice cubes to cool down the cutter on this very hot, humid day in Southern California. Now I want to point out that when you're feeding in fruit, it's very, very important to keep this covered with your hand or the pusher and feed it in slowly. Another tip is to go down only part way, as I'm doing here. Let's put in the turmeric and the ginger. Now remember to go down only part way. And I'm going to juice the seeds and all. Now I want to point out one of the beautiful things about the front-loading feed tube is you can see in here, and I can see that some of the produce is not being shred. So what I'm going to do is put the rest of these seeds in here. And also, with a small cup, I'm going to put some of this pulp back in to force that last produce through. Next step will be to clean the feed tube, the cutter, and the grids. Now my next step is to mix the pulp very thoroughly, because I have ginger and turmeric in here and I want to have a homogeneous mix. And as you can see, it's very liquid. So instead of using a ladle to spoon my pulp into the cloth, I'm going to use a 1 cup measuring cup. But before I do that, whenever you do fruit, you should line your cloth with a bamboo liner, and this prevents your pulp from sticking to the cloth. So let's fill 1 cloth and very carefully pour the pulp into the liner. And I'm going to put 1.5 cups in here. Then fold the bamboo liner over in thirds. just like so, and then the cloth over the bamboo liner. Little fold at the back to enable your fold. Pull this into as tight a package as possible. I'm going to set it aside because I'm doing 2 cloths full of pulp at one time. So another bamboo liner. And again about 1.5 cups of pulp. Remember, because it's so liquid, you want to pour very, very slowly. Fold your bamboo liner over your pulp, again in thirds, as you see me doing it here. And then I'm going to put 2 cloths full of pulp into the press. And then advance it all the way. Now after about 10 or 20 seconds, I'm going to shut this off, lower the press, and fill 2 more cloths. Now we'll take one of these pressed cloths out. We're going to unfold the bamboo liner and put new pulp on top of the old pulp. Fold the bamboo liner over again, and then the cloth over the bamboo liner. Set it aside. Take my second cloth and do the same. And into the press. Now we're centering this left to right, center it front to back, all the way back, back it off, turn it on. Now what I'm going to do now to demonstrate that the Whole Health Foundation model with the premium bottom plate can give you over 10% more juice, I'm going to take both of these cloths and form them into a tight package. Set that one aside. I'm going to form this into a very tight package and fold it again. Now watch my folding technique. To minimize any slippage, I'm going to fold this under 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, as many times as I can. I'm going to do that in both directions. I'm going to flatten that, put it in the press. Okay, now it changes from a steady flow to drops. Now I've got about 4.5 ounces here. That's more than 10%. So let's turn this machine off. I'm going to pour this into the collection container and fill bottles. Now, one of your last steps in cold water is to scrub any pulp off of the cloths, especially on the corners. And then to fold it into thirds, just like they came in the package, and press the water out and put them back in the freezer. And the reason you put them in the freezer is germs cannot grow in the freezer. So into the press these will go. Into the press, centered. Turn it on, all the way up, and I'm going to use a container to catch the water. And when the water's finished pressing out, they'll go into a plastic bag into the freezer. The next step, of course, is to pour it into bottles, and I have 14-ounce bottles here. And I'm going to pour this from the back side so the camera gets a good look. And I think we have a little more than 2 bottles full here. Yes, 2 bottles and enough for a taste test. Well, as you can see, my friends, I have 2 bottles of cantaloupe juice with ginger and turmeric, and enough for a taste test. And I have some here that I've mixed 50% with water, so I'm going to taste both full strength. Very sweet. Cantaloupe with a hint of ginger and turmeric. Now, 50% with water. Well, this is still very refreshing, but I think too much water. If I was going to water down cantaloupe juice, next time I'll only do about 25% water. Well, here's full strength again. Well, full strength is a tad too sweet, but nearly perfect. Well, I hope you like what you've seen, my friends. If you do, please tell a friend. If you'd like to call me, my phone number is 760-753-0321. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and my webpage is wholehealthfund.com. See you in the next video.